lady and gentlemen. This piece, I've got to turn this fast. I have to. And the reason I've got to turn this fast is because I'm going to be cutting, missing, cutting, missing, cutting. The faster that's turning, there's less time between cutting and missing, okay? And again, the speed will make a difference. Now, I'm not even going to bother cleaning this face up. It's all nicely prepared, okay? So I've set me dividers to the size of the tenon that I'm going to hold on to before I mounted the piece of wood, okay? Loads of guys mount the piece of wood, then they try and guess what the tenon size is. Measure it accurately. It makes a big difference. So, that onto there. I'll just do it a little faster to get the... I'm eyeballing the middle this time. There we go. I've given myself a decent tenon this time to hold on to. I always make 2 cuts there so I can see how deep the tenon is. Then again, remove this wood here.
Oh, I am here now.
Okay, let's see who was paying attention in the last demo. I'm going to cut an OG from there to there. Okay, the foot isn't part of the OG. What do I need to split into where?
Thirds.
So from the foot to that corner, make that into thirds. There, so it's 2/3 there and 1/3 there, and a reference mark here. That's just, this will end up 1/8 of an inch thick at the end, but I've given myself a good 3/8 there, just in case I need to change in case I need to refine the shape. I've got wood to work with, okay, same as last time. So, set your tool rest perpendicular to the 2 points you're aiming for, and you're doing exactly the same thing. Just forget that the piece of wood is square. The tooling is no different. The tooling's exactly the same, it's just a different shaped piece of wood to start with, that's all. Move the tool rest a little closer. For safety reasons, you should always switch the lathe off before you move the tool rest. Right, that curve can be quite hard to get with the wing of the tool because you're not using the bevel, you're just using the edge of the tool. There's very little bevel rubbing, okay? It's torn out anyway, there and there on the end grain. So remember, the outside of the bowl, anything you turn, on the outside the grain's always running in that direction, and that's the way you should make your cuts. I'm going to contradict what I've just said. I'm going to use that bevel there, make a cut down here, and that will help me to get the curve that I want. As long as I leave enough room to do a finishing cut that way, it makes no difference if I go against the grain. You can go against the grain, providing you leave enough room to do a finishing cut. So, I'm going to go in from here. That bevel allowed me to get a much nicer curve. Now I'm going to put the halfway mark on, because the OG is 50-50. So from there to there, put your halfway line on, which is about here. And you're going to blend that curve into that one. Just exactly the same as you did last time. So, onto there. Lighter touches now. There we go. That curve's reflected by that one, 50-50. So there, we've got a nice ogee on there. Simple geometry, the easiest way to do it by far. And that's a very decent finish from the tool as well. That wouldn't take too much sanding. There's a little bit of tear out on that wing. Tell you what. That's a newly sharpened tool. Let's use this one to get that finishing cut. That to there, that should, yeah, I can feel it. That's cleaner, that is, and that is. That'll take very little sanding. So, I had this mounted on a screw chuck, on the one-way screw chuck, and I used a little bit of a spacer, plywood spacer there, okay? Just so the chuck didn't stick too far in the piece of wood. You can use spacers on there so you can hold thinner pieces of wood. Another nice bit of equipment, I'll show you this, but it's a bit expensive, is that. That's the Glazer adjustable screw chuck. So if you screw that out, it changes how far the screw comes out, and you've got a lot of support there. Screw that back in, and you've got a longer screw sticking out. It's $160. It's a lot of money. Or you can use that and that for about 3 cents. Whatever. Okay. So, take the screw chuck out. Put that on there. Put that into here. Put your finger right on the middle, okay, and press even, and that presses it evenly against the jaws and gives you a much better grip. Tighten this up. You don't want it to come out. And you don't either, mate, do you?
No, I No, I've been nice to you all day.
Right, the lid is going to overhang the opening. We'll say on this size by about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I put a middle mark on there. Put that on there. And this is the box part. That lid will overhang it. Okay, and I can adjust that slightly if I need to. I'll leave that reference mark on. Now I'm going to cut the wings. This bevel.
Why did you go with a tenon instead of a recess for this one?
Because the recess would have been too big. Using this chuck, it would have been too big in the bottom, and I would have put a foot on it, and I wouldn't have had as much room to get this curve. The foot is smaller, and I can get a softer, longer curve than with a tenon, and that's from it's a design decision. That this bevel here has to follow that outside profile. In order to get that the same thickness, it's got to follow this outside profile, okay? So that's what I'm saying. Your bevel, if you presented the tool in that position and you made the right cut, you'd just be cutting straight through there. That bevel tells you in which direction you're cutting, so it wants to be parallel to this outside edge. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Again, holding the tool there, and it's in me hip. Just stop that for a moment. Okay, that's looking right. It's parallel. Okay, so I'm making sure that this is right before I go any further. I'll take these and notice how I step in the cuts. If you step the cuts, you'll never catch that wing. It's impossible to catch the wing if you step those cuts. So now we'll take it down a touch further. I don't mind if it thickens up slightly here in the middle, so those wings just thin out and present themselves out to you. They get thinner, okay? So that's not too bad. We're right the way into the piece. I didn't drill the whole square because you can see that it's slightly bigger than that, okay? It'll still work for what we want. So now, I'm going to come down here. I've roughed the wood out there with a draw cut. I'm just going to take a measurement because this is too high above the wings. I want this face to be level with the wings, and I can see if I just put that on, I can see it's about 1/4 inch higher. So I'm going to drop this down to level with the wings. If you don't, the whole piece sticks too high. I've got this measurement on. I'm going to lose it when I take it down, so get that measurement there. Take this down. Put this back on. And cut away from here. Doing the draw cut down there is very difficult to get a nice smooth cut because you're cutting with just the wing. What I'm going to do now is pick up the micro bevel, that smaller bevel, pick the cut up here. I'm going to take a little bit deeper there. That's giving me a much cleaner cut. One, back here. A bit further. So I've got a nice clean cut down there. There's a little step here. All I've got to do now is use the wing of the tool, and I'm going to close the wing down and just blend that into there. If you had any lines on here, I'll cut that and I'll show you how to cut the wings as well. Okay, so just blend this in. Then if you needed to go back to the wings, so if I put a pencil mark on, oops, there, and there. So you had some rivels on there and you wanted to get rid of those pencil lines. Close the flute right down and push the tool in that way. Don't draw it out. If you draw it out, there's more pressure on the wings. If you push it in, the pressure's going into the spindle and you've got far less chance of knocking the piece out. And then just slide forwards. I watch the cut travel down there. I don't look here. It's easier for me to see the cut travel down there. Just blend that in nicely. Stop that. There we go. That's got rid of those pencil marks. That would all sand in nicely. Just get your power sander. Actually, I'll show you this. I've got one set up. You can sand up to the corners. Do not come past those corners. Certainly not with the pad, and certainly if you're doing this by hand, do not come past there. If you come past there, that point there, you'll feel it, and yeah, you'll feel it. It really, really hurts. I was going to say if you're in a class, other people would hear it as well. So you can get into there. Again, that little bit there would stand out, okay? The wings slightly thinner there, tapering out nicely. Now, we're going to hollow the middle out. Let me just check that Measurement there, that's going to be okay. So, parting tool, leave a little flat on the top there. That cut is about 1/8 of an inch deep for the joint. Then just hollow the middle out. When you stop, close the flute. As soon as you've got that bevel rubbing, open the flute, push the tool around. It's okay. One micro bevel cut to finish it off. Just raise the tool rest a slight bit because we're using a different size tool. I'm always adjusting the height of the tool rest so the cutting edge is on the center line. And you never want to be hollowing like that or cutting like that. That's digging. The tool wants to be in that position. It's a much more efficient angle. So. Give me a nice clean cut across there. So that would be the box itself done. We're going to do the lid now, and it's going to have a square lid. Just pass that round so you can have a look at that. Oh. Right, so you're going to put the lid between centers, and all we want to do is just put a tenon on there. So chuck key here. Now I've got the stab center, and I can either put it into the spindle or I can hold it just behind the head there in the chuck, and it saves me taking the chuck off. It's a bit lazy, but it works. There's no. I've got two options there. You can buy these that go straight in your chuck, but you can't put them in the spindle then in your headstock. I just put that there, and that's good enough for what we want. So get rid of these. I need the revolving center. Has anybody got any questions while I'm doing this? Am I explaining it well enough? Is that?
So the outside wings, you just sand those by hand?
Yes, you would hand sand them and then sand the middle bit. Blend that in with the power sander. So, step center. I've crossed this piece of wood. Bring that up to there. Just slightly out. There we go. That's there we go. So just nip that up, tighten that up. Top speed 3200. But it's only a little piece of wood, and all we want to do is put a tenon on it. Bowl gouge. I cut the tenon in that corner. Very, very useful tool, that. Very useful. So, we don't need that anymore. Take the step center out, put this piece in, and we're going to get the base to fit onto here.
What do you need?
Chuck key. Here it is, sorry. Right. So, take that out.
When people do this for a living, is speed pretty important? I mean, like if they're...
No, well, if you're a production turner,
Yeah.
speed's important.
Yeah.
I'm only turning fast tonight because normally I wouldn't do two pieces like this and trying to work fast so I can get them both done. And that's the only reason. I don't normally, like I said, I don't normally turn as aggressively as this. I enjoy the process. Can I have the base back, please? I need one measurement. Right, so I want to get the base. This is going to be the lid, okay? So I'm going to measure slightly wider than that opening there. Just a fraction wider. Oh, cheers, mate. Transfer the mark onto here. Parting tool. That can only be 1/8 of an inch deep as that, otherwise it won't close down. Take that wood away. And then you just want to get that to fit onto there. So hook that over there. I measured slightly more, so I know it won't fit. You can take one off, but you can't put it back on. That needs about a 32nd to take off to reduce that, which means you're cutting a 64th there, okay? If you cut a 32nd there, it's a 16th all the way around. That's right, so just skimming off here. Into there, that away. That just sits over there nicely now, and it's not rattling either, but it just lifts off. On this, we're not making a wood turner's fit. We want something that you can just lift off. If you're trying to impress other wood turners, if you make a box, they want to hear that sucky pop, okay? If you're making boxes to sell, it's women who buy boxes, not guys. We don't have little trinkety things to put in. It's women who mainly buy boxes, and they are not interested one iota in a wood turner's pop. They just want to go over, take the lid off, and retrieve those diamond earrings you bought them on Valentine's Day. That always goes down like a lead balloon. Always, always. What's up with you guys? Are you not romantic? Right. So, I want the wings of the base of the lid to match the wings of the curve, okay? If I left them flat across there, that lid wouldn't appear to be part of this piece. So I want the wings to curve up slightly. So what I'll do is put that on there. Make sure, again, just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. Get that and that about the same. Get that about the same, and just draw a line. That curve there corresponds with this curve, so the lid's going to match the base, okay? Everything's starting to flow together. So just take a little bit off this corner, a very light cut, because you're just cutting corners. It's not a solid piece of wood as such. Stop that there. Stop and check, see what we've got. That's fine. That's right. Yeah, and just see the pencil line. Faint pencil line. So that's spot on. We're just going to hollow this out slightly. Take some of the weight out. I don't want a solid, heavy, chunky lid. So we've got that. And to make this easier to hold, because I've got this little chuck, point tool, hide that little line, that change. That's good.
The top right, please, is blocking the camera. Thank you, sir.
And what tool was that you used, Jimmy?
A point, well,
Parting tool, okay.
no, I use this tool here is a badan, but I don't use a badan to roll beads and coves. I use the traditional spindle gouge, which is what I was taught. Jean-Francois Escalon and the French turners use the badan, okay? It's no good to me as a badan, so I just sharpened it at an angle, and it's made a nice little point tool. Okay, you can get a square bar and just sharpen it at an angle, and it'll give you that point. So, before I turn this around and hold it there on the inside, I want to take some of the weight out of this. That's only about a 16th, okay, maybe a touch more. And so I don't want this big heavy solid chunk of wood holding on that little 1/16 of a recess, so I'm going to take some of the weight out of it. Again, all this is on 3200. It's only a little piece of wood. If you can turn left-handed as well as right-handed, it can get you out of some awkward situations. So now, what we'll do is take this out. Put that there. We'll take this chuck off. Put the other one on. That and that. That's right. Spot on. Put that into there. Put this here. Close those jaws. They should just go down enough. Ooh. There we go, and then expand them back out. That's going to hold that nicely. Now, if you wanted to, there's nothing stopping you bringing the tailstock up to help to support that even more, okay? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. It would support it perfectly fine. I want to get an OG in the top of this. I'm going to cut the wings the same as I did the base, and I want an OG in the top of that to match the OG on the bottom of this. So the lid has an OG in it, and it's reversed, and the proportions are getting smaller. These wings will be slightly thinner than those wings there. So as we're getting higher up, the proportions are getting smaller. Ball gouge. To get the OG in there, I've got to remove this wood in the corner. That's where the handle's going to be, so I might as well cut the size of the handle now. Making the cuts that way, pushing the piece into the chuck. Onto the wing, hold on. There's my OG shape. I can do a draw cut downhill. Little gouge. Again, it's a bowl gouge, just the standard English grind. That. Come back to this one. Little radius on the top. Okay. I just had the flute a little too open on that and it scooted back. I'm spindle turning with a bowl gouge. The names of the tools are irrelevant to me now. If it's got a bevel and an edge and I can use it, it doesn't matter what the name of the tool is. Okay, just blend that nicely into there. Spindle gouge. I want you to look at this. I've got the OG on there. That flat there, the way the handle appears to be attached to the lid, with that flat makes it look very heavy. I'm going to do one little undercut. Again, it's a design nuance, and it really lightens up the way the handle appears to be attached to the lid. Just put a little fillet in there, and it doesn't look half as heavy. That really lightens it up. It just, you know, it's not as heavy as it was. Maybe from a attention to detail. Two little dark lines in the top. It shows that you've considered that. You've considered it. It's not just sanded round. You could put a little hollow in there and a little Swarovski crystal, a coloured crystal in the top, just a detail, a design nuance. Oh, there you go, mate. Yeah, yeah. Actually, a mate of mine in Newcastle, he had a huge garden centre, and he had Swarovski crystals just scattered about in this display case. And I said to him when he says, "Oh, we're changing this," I said, "Can I have them?" He says, "Yeah," and he put them all in a bag, and they're ideal for putting into the tops of things. Or if you take a lid off, everybody looks at it. If you give them a turn, they'll look at it, then they always do that. They always look at the bottom. If they take a lid off, they'll look at the bottom. Sure. Put a little crystal in the bottom. It's something that can discover. It's a surprise, okay? So, take that out of there. I'm going to expand these jaws into that flat. Okay, I should actually change over jaws. I'll do that. Because this chuck, if I was to open these jaws up, right the way open, to hold that, it wouldn't, I don't think it would be, it would hold, but you're only going to hold a little bit there, and there. You're not going to get a good surface area of contact. So, if we take this off, a little tap. These jaws, I should think, will close down enough to be able to grip this on the inside. That little flat is important to square everything up. And then we can rework the foot. Yeah, that sits in there nicely. Just nip it up. Do not over tighten it. If you do, you'll know straight away when it just falls in half. Turn the speed down now. We're not cutting corners. We don't need to turn it at breakneck speed here. So we're just refining the foot where it's got the crush marks from the serrated jaws. So parting tool. Turn it right down, then turn it up to what you want. Everything's running true because you cut everything accurately. Okay, just down to 2,000 or up to 2,000, whatever. A little clean cut here. Just get rid of those cush marks. And just put a little bit of shape into that foot. Take away that ugly tenon. I put a little curve in there. It's slightly undercut here. Always undercut a foot. Never leave it flat, because if the wood moves, it'll rock. If you undercut it, it'll still sit on at least 3 points and it'll stay steady. Point tool. Those two lines there reflect the two lines on the top. You're considering the whole piece as a whole. You know, when two pieces, both of them are together. Take that out of there. And that is your square Oriental box with a square lid that literally just lifts off. Okay.